need to make sure that that's something I'm thinking about. And the third thing, which I think for everyone on the call as an agent, is teleconferencing, e-apps, accelerate underwriting, non-med options, kind of the ways that consumers today purchase life insurance and annuity products is really changing. And we have to, like Bill said, be scrappy, change, adapt. Thankfully for Levinson agents, we've been on top of the technology for years and years. So all of this is kind of second nature to us, but it's more important than ever. And so that kind of creates a great opportunity for agents. A lot of agents, unfortunately, might not adapt to that technology or might not have an agency they can lean on to kind of get those resources. So there's a great handout that you can actually download right now from the GoToWebinar panel. The first one is Navigating the New Normal, which is about running a virtual office. This talks about how to thrive on working from home, doing remote business, an overview of how to do video conferencing to help you with your sales pitch, and also diving into e-apps, drop tickets, even e-policy delivery. And the second one, which is on the right-hand side, which we're going to email out in today's thank you email, is the non-med carrier chart. This is literally changing by the hour. So we're going to send you a current version after the webinar, but we are seeing on a daily basis 2, 3, 4 carriers at a time, all updating their non-med guidelines to help you as an agent write more coverage with less paramed exams. So that's really going to help the situation currently. We'll be sending both those items out as attachments, but of course you can download the one handout today. That's all great material from AIG that I think will really help you kind of navigate what we're going through right now.
Okay, good stuff, Joe. Okay, speaking of the non-med chart, as everyone is aware, AIG is one of our core companies. In fact, one of our all-time favorites. They also have non-med up to $500,000. It's actually $499,999 with AGLA and the AIG side. In fact, can we go to the next slide there, guys? Okay, and so here's what's neat. So AIG and the AGLA side with living benefits, they go up to just under $500,000 with the e-app and drop ticket. And here's another neat plus that everyone needs to take note of. Yes, when the time presents itself, we want to thank AIG and living benefits, and Joe Ross will also touch on that in a few more minutes. But I also want to say, why not in the background, especially at a time like this, have your website up and running and be marketing through social media and e-blasting and team up, if it's a bank, a mortgage company, health agency, P&C agency, and you can co-brand, the Insure Me Now Direct platform, which is tied back to you. So every product that's written on your own platform, you get full commission, just like as if you were sitting face-to-face with a client. But the difference is they can log in at midnight while you're sleeping. They can run a quote. They can purchase online. They can print their policy and save it to their desktop. And boom, you just made a sale and you did nothing. Okay, that's Insure Me Now Direct in a nutshell. We own the rights. We invented this platform. We've been working on it for 7 years. Yesterday, we just launched, and everybody should take note, the new $500,000 instant issue term product that's client driven. Okay, there's no exam. Instant approval, that whole e-application is 5 minutes. It's an A+ rated carrier, household name, which is huge this day and age. And then we also added Gerber Life for guaranteed issue and the grow up plan. And then we also added the SureBridge guaranteed issue disability product. There's nothing else like this. And it's all client driven. Think Amazon, but for insurance products. Okay. And then we have a non-insurance product. The Relia Shield Identity Theft Program is also available now on Insure Me Now Direct. So that makes over 16 products by 5 different carriers, all 100% client driven. It's all mobile compatible from your smartphone, but you need to have this up and running right now. We just had a huge agency take an ad out on Fox News. They're finalizing the details now. So you're going to see this all over the place. So why not participate? And then if you have any downline agents, they can only get this from us. So why not participate in the hierarchy and make an override? This is a game changer, especially at a time like this where no one's seeing clients face to face. So huge plus. I'm so excited about that. Okay, moving forward here, let's dive into the feature presentation. And I want to just take a minute and step back and just give Joe Ross all the credit in the world that he deserves. Great guy. If you ever heard him speak in person, I know you'll agree with me. It's just funny that Joe also has a Labradoodle. I have a Labradoodle. Joseph Loughran has a Labradoodle. It's in our blood. And if you know the way these dogs are, okay, they are freaking amazing, and their owners usually follow suit. So it's funny how that all worked out. I also asked Joe Ross to do a podcast with me, which we did. It's been almost a year now, but we have a great episode that me and Joe dive into, selling in the new world and great stories. We always talk about how facts tell and stories sell, and Joe is a great storyteller, okay, and they're all factual stories, but the way he says it and spins it is second to none. You're going to witness that in a few more minutes. I'm also going to talk about some of his credentials real quick. He has articles and presentations that have been featured in Brokers World, National Underwriter, Life Health Pro, and Think Advisor. In November 19, Joe was awarded the ID 20 award by NALBA, the National Association of Independent Life Brokerage Associations, which we are actually a part of here at Levinson. The award was based on the most courageous innovators and visionaries who have made important contributions to the life insurance profession. So again, stand-up guy. I don't know a better life insurance sales coach that literally I've ever met or in our industry today. And I'm not trying to just build them up because we're all on a webinar. I'll say that with everyone on or if nobody was on, okay? And I think if you know me personally, you'll agree with that statement. Okay, let's move forward to our introduction slide. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to introduce Mr. Eric Tompkins, who's our new RVP at AIG. He's going to take the wheel and then turn it over to Mr. Joe Ross. Eric, you there?
I am. Hey, thank you so much for that introduction. I am not going to get in the way of the build-up for Joe, your featured speaker. Very excited that he's on the call today. Real brief, I am the new RVP supporting Levinson & Associates, one of our most important firms that we do business with. My territory is down here in the Southeast, and I'm excited to begin working with many of you that are here on the call today. So couldn't be more excited about that. I get to work with Joe as he is our VP of Sales, Productivity, and Business Development. But to most of you, he is probably known as an industry icon. So we are very excited to have Joe Ross today. And so, Joe, I'm just going to ask you to take it away.
Thanks, Eric. And for those of you who are looking on your screen, I've got Eric's information on the screen, so you have contact information if you need it. If you need anything related to AIG, your in-force cases, your new business, processing, submitting cases, anything that has anything to do with our products, Eric is your guy. He will have those answers. Now, normally you'd go right back through your teammates back at Levinson Associates. Eric is going to be their go-to guy for anything that they need related to AIG. But just in case you need it, you have Eric's contact information there on the screen. Just to build a little bit off of what Bill was saying just a few minutes ago, I love his line, facts tell and stories sell. Bill and I both have our own lines. I have a rendition of that same line, and my version is, it's not about the products we sell, it's about the stories we tell. And both Bill and I are big believers in story selling. In fact, I was talking with one of our sales reps the other day, and again, this echoes what Bill's talking about. Get on the phone, talk to people. They are interested. They know how important life insurance is. The death rate that we're seeing on the news every day with the coronavirus is a constant reminder to everybody in America today the importance of the role you play in assuring them and their families of financial security. And I was just talking to one of our guys yesterday afternoon who, over a video sales presentation, closed a case for a $55,000 target premium. $55,000 target premium closed via a video presentation to a client. And this is what Bill's talking about. Get on the phone, get on the video, get in front of your clients. They're at home. There's nobody's going to say, well, you need to schedule something around my work or my travel. None of that's happening. So now is the time. He also mentioned the navigating the new normal materials that AIG just created, and it's brand new stuff. You saw the snapshot of the PDF on the screen. Yesterday, I submitted to compliance a series of 4 PowerPoint decks that Bill and I will be talking about that marry up with that navigating the new normal. It's going to be a four presentation deck. The first presentation in the deck is how to survive and thrive in the work from home environment. And it's going to give you tips and tricks on how to do that. The second part is managing remote employees, which is not just managing remote employees, but it's also working with teammates who are also living in a remote world. The third part is over the phone selling scripts that you can use when you are taking advantage of this new opportunity to engage with your clients. And the fourth and final one is video conferencing tips from my career. So lots of great stuff that we have. It just keeps going. Just when we thought this was going to stop us, if there's one thing Bill and I both know, it's that you can't bury your head in the sand and then complain that it's dark. We are not going to bury our heads in the sand, and we are not going to let the lights go out. We are going to keep the wheels moving, and that's part of what today is all about. Let's keep the wheels moving. So our topic for today was conversation starters, and there's nothing more difficult than getting clients engaged into a life insurance conversation, and that's what these conversation starters are all about. So I'm going to list for you on the screen today the 7 different conversation starters that I'm bringing to you today. If you have a pen handy, you're going to want to jot down some notes as we go. I believe Bill is recording the presentation and can spin this back out to the participants on the line when we're done as well. So I'm not going to explain what each of, okay, thanks, Bill. I'm not going to explain what each of these 7 are now. We're going to go through them one at a time. So let's start with financial offense versus financial defense. What's that all about? Well, I try to explain to people what the 2 different things are. What's financial offense? Well, financial offense is when you're building your portfolio. That's putting money into your investments. It's figuring out your client's risk tolerance and managing to that so that you're not too heavy in stocks or too heavy in bonds, depending on their risk tolerance. And it's rebalancing their portfolio with regularity to make sure that they stay on track. I mean, look at the rebalancing that would need to take place right now. Stock portfolios are down dramatically. If you were 60-40 stocks and bonds, you might now be the other way around. You might be 60% bonds and 40% stocks. And what does that mean? Well, if you know what you're doing, you're going to take some of that bond money and you're going to throw it into the stocks, because when this stock market returns, it's going to be a tremendous growth spurt over the next 4 or 5 years, and your clients can capitalize on that. That's what financial offense is. It's about saying to your client, look, based on what we're doing, here's what it looks like you'll have at retirement. And this is how much money we think you can spend each year. And if you do that, this is what will be left over for your legacy. That's financial offense. It's about preparing for what you plan to have happen, what you think is going to happen. That's what we're doing when we're playing financial offense. But what's the other side of that coin? The other side of that coin is financial defense. What's financial defense? That's helping protect from the unexpected, the things that your clients didn't know were going to happen. And when you play financial defense, you're going to be using insurance products. In fact, your clients are already playing financial defense with insurance products. They all have auto insurance. Why do they have auto insurance? Do any of them want to collect from their auto insurance policy? Absolutely not. But if they need it, they're so glad it's there. So in a perfect world, they'll pay their premiums on that auto insurance policy for the rest of their lives and hopefully never get a nickel back from the insurance company. But they're paying the small monthly premium so that if something big happens, the insurance company is going to pay for that. Same with your homeowner insurance. If your house blows down, you paid the little premiums, the insurance company is going to pay the big checks. Same thing with disability income, long-term care, health insurance, and yes, same thing is true of life insurance. So what I tell you in terms of financial offense and financial defense is that you need to remind your clients early and often, tell them right up front, the 2 critical roles you play in helping plan their financial future. The first role you play is tell your clients, I play 2 critical roles. I'm going to help you play financial offense to plan for what you expect to happen, and I'm going to help you play financial defense to plan for those things that you don't expect to happen. And when we play financial defense, we're going to be protecting the things you want to keep with life insurance. You tell them often, you tell them early, and then when that conversation about life insurance comes up, your clients won't even flinch when the topic comes up because they've been expecting it all along. That's what we mean by financial offense and financial defense. The second conversation starter that I'll bring to you today is one I talk with a lot of people. Well, how does that go? It's basically focusing in on how you open a life insurance conversation. So how does that go? I suggest that you begin with pain and pleasure. And we're going to dive into this a little bit more in the later part of our conversation. Pain and pleasure. Remember, people don't solve small problems. Small problems are small problems. I can live with small problems. Gosh, I need a new pair of shoes. Well, I can let that go for another week or two. No big deal. People don't solve small problems. People only take the time to solve big problems. And so what that means is we have to help them understand and recognize what a big problem is. You need to help them see the big problems, the potentially financially catastrophic results that can happen if they don't purchase life insurance. When they realize that their family could be left hundreds of thousands of dollars short of the money they need, that's when they realize this is a big problem. When they realize it's a big problem, that's when they're going to want to solve that problem. So when you open that life insurance conversation, you need to insert into your client's mind a concern that they're not thinking about, or a concern that they're thinking about and just not doing anything about. You have a lot of clients who are putting their heads down on their pillow every single night, laying down next to their spouse or significant other and thinking about the financial devastation that would happen if one of the two of them doesn't come home from work tomorrow. But they're just choosing not to do anything about it. You have to help them understand the pain of not doing anything about it. The more pain they feel about the problem that they have that they're doing nothing about, the more motivated they will be to take action. So how can you get them over that hump? Well, I suggest you consider starting your conversation something like this. This is very important language, very carefully scripted. You say, I talk to a lot of people in a situation very similar to yours, and I'm consistently hearing a common thread. Many people say they're concerned about blank, and then describe what goes in that blank. What is that common thread you're hearing? And then ask if this is something that ever concerns you. For example, I talk to a lot of people in a situation very similar to yours, and I'm consistently hearing a common thread. Many people say they're concerned about what will happen to their family if they don't come home from work tomorrow. Or many people say they're concerned about how they're going to pay for their children's college education if one of the parents dies prematurely. Or many people say they're concerned about what's going to happen during retirement with relationship to the healthcare expenses, now knowing that we have these long-term care and chronic illness riders. You put into that blank whatever you know is going to disturb your client, and then you ask them, is this something that ever concerns you? Okay, so what's the power of this? The reason that scripting as it sits on the screen is so important is when you open your conversation by saying, I talk with a lot of people in a situation very similar to yours, it gives you instant credibility because your client says, oh, I'm not the first person you've talked to that's in this situation. You have a lot of experience of doing this. And then when you get to the part that says, I'm consistently hearing a common thread, many people say they're concerned about this. Is that a concern for you? The fact that you've said that you talk to a lot of people and many of them are saying they're concerned about this says that if you admit that you're concerned about the same thing, you're just like everybody else. It's not like you're stupid or you made a mistake. You're just like everybody else, which gives them permission to talk about their concerns so that you can get that right out front. Why is that so key? Well, one of the problems that we deal with in selling, and particularly with life insurance, is when we get to those objections after we try to close it. Well, a big reason why you get objections when you're trying to close it is because your solution did not get properly connected to their problem. And that's typically because you didn't clarify what the problem was on the front end. You use this opening dialogue and your client admits right up front that they have a problem and they're concerned about this problem. And that lays the groundwork for you to say, you know what, if I could solve that problem, would you see any reason why we wouldn't move forward with a solution? So what have you done with that statement? You've surfaced a concern. You've surfaced the elephant in the room that they've been unwilling to confront, the concern that you know is there. You've established that you have credibility because you've talked to a lot of people. You have meaningful, relevant experience. And because a lot of people have raised this concern, your client doesn't feel like they're the only one and what's wrong with them, that this is their problem and no one else has it. So that's what I mean by opening your conversation with, I talk with a lot of people in a circumstance very similar to yours, and I'm hearing a common thread. The next conversation starter we'll dive into is you can look down and see. What's that all about? You can look down and see. Well, that's an idea where you can ask your client, especially parents of children under their roof, and you can say, hey, let's imagine, for whatever reason, you don't come home from work tomorrow. And 10 years from now, you have the opportunity to look down and see what's going on with your family. Question number one, what would you like to see? And question number two, based on what you know now, what do you think you'll actually see 10 years from now after you're gone? Well, when you ask, what would you like to see? The answers you'll typically get is, I want to see my family still happy. I want to see them financially secure. I want to see my kids going to school and graduating college and getting a good start on their lives. I want to see my family, my spouse, my kids achieving their dreams. That's what I'd like to see happening 10 years after I'm gone if I don't get to come home from work tomorrow. Okay, so based on what you know now, what do you think you'll actually see? Well, in the absence of life insurance, what most people would tell you they would probably see is the exact opposite. Not happiness, but financial hardship. Not kids going to college, but kids getting jobs right out of high school because they couldn't afford to go to college. You'll see the house got sold and they had to move into a less expensive apartment in a neighborhood that they didn't want to live in, but that's all they can afford. You'll see cars getting old and getting dilapidated. This is what people will see 10 years after they die when they get a chance to look down and see what's going on if they don't buy life insurance. Now, let me ask you something. Is this creating a little bit of pain, a little bit of discomfort for your client? Absolutely it is. But if your client agrees that this is a problem and this is what I'd like to see, but this is what I think I'll actually see, the bigger the disparity between those, the greater the degree of pain. And the greater the degree of pain, the more motivated they are to make a change. So you could follow that up by saying to your client, if there was something we could put into your plan today that could make what you actually see 10 years after you die look more like what you'd like to see 10 years after you die, you'd probably want to know how you could make that happen, wouldn't you? And most people would agree that they would. And that's what we mean by, what if you could look down and see 10 years after you're gone? Great conversation starter. And again, as we said before, it's not about the products we sell, it's about the stories we tell. People get emotionally engaged and want to have that meaningful conversation with you. So let's move on to our next conversation starter. Now, are you ever going to spend it all? Well, how does that go? When a retiree, as opposed to parents with children under the roof, when a retiree has accumulated substantial retirement savings, you can ask these three questions. First question, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you've accumulated quite a bit of money. Are you ever going to spend it all? Now, if you're talking to the right client who has saved well and lives frugally, the expected response is, no, we cannot envision a world where we would ever spend all of this money. And even in spite of the fact that the stock market might be down 30%, don't worry, trust me, in a few years, it'll be back up again. The stock market does this. It goes up and it goes down, but generally speaking, over time, it continues to go up and it will come up again. I remember in 2008 and 2009, we didn't think the stock market would ever come back. Look what it did for 10 consecutive years. And we're still a long ways away from giving away all of the stock market gains of the last 10 years. We've given away about 3 years of returns, maybe 3.5 years of returns, but we have not given back all 10 years of returns. And I have every confidence that as we move forward out of this pandemic, we will see another 10 years similar to the last 10 years. So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you've accumulated quite a bit of money. Are you ever going to spend it all? The expected response is, no, I can't imagine something would happen where we would spend all this money. Second question then is, what are you planning to do with what's left over? We know what they're going to tell us. They're going to tell us about their family, who they would like to have get that money. They're going to tell us about maybe a charity they care about where they can make a difference. Or they might tell you a little bit about both. So the third question is, if there was a way to leave them more, you'd probably want to know about it, wouldn't you? Now, who can you think of who wants to leave a legacy to their family, their charities, or both, who doesn't want to know about a way to leave them more? And that's one of the things that we can do with life insurance. So that's a great story for your retired clients when you're talking about life insurance opportunities for wealth transfer and legacy creation. And that's what we mean by, are you ever going to spend it? The next conversation starter I'll share with you today is, I'd like to think about it. Has anybody not heard that one from a client yet? I'd like to think about it. What does that mean? It's procrastination. And I'm going to give you some insights into I'd like to think about it. At the conclusion of any life insurance sales presentation, regardless of what you're selling, a client will be inclined to say, I'd like to think about it. Now, what many of us tend to believe is that when a client says, I'd like to think about it, they're trying to tell us that they don't want to move forward. You have to understand there's a difference between I've decided not to move forward and I haven't yet decided to move forward. There's a huge difference between those two statements. And when they say, I'd like to think about it, they are not telling you, I've made a decision, I don't want to do this. What they're telling you is, I still haven't decided to move forward. Maybe I need a little bit more information. Maybe I need a little bit more pain and pleasure in order to get past this so that I feel confident in moving forward again. At that point, you can then incorporate the medical close, and you can say to your client, and there's an old adage in sales that says, agree and counter, agree and counter, agree and counter. That's how you handle objections. When your client comes up with that objection, you can use the medical close in an agree and counter kind of scenario by saying, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I agree. I can see why you'd like to think about this. In fact, that was a lot of information I just shared with you. And I know this kind of financial security is important to you and your family. I know this is an important decision for you to make. I know you qualify for what we just talked about financially. However, neither of us knows if you qualify for it medically. So the life insurance company needs some time to think about it too. They need to think about this situation as much as you do. They need to check your health records. They need to give you a free physical exam. It could take them a couple of months to collect and evaluate all this information. You know what you get to do during that couple of months? You get to think about it. Only after they get to do all of that will we know if the price we discussed today is correct or if it needs to be adjusted. And I know you wouldn't want to make that decision until we have that final price. So I'm not asking you to make a decision to purchase anything today. I'm asking you to make a decision to find out what the final price would look like. If we submit the paperwork today, the insurance company can begin that evaluation. That'll give you 2 to 4 months to think about this important decision. At that point in time, what can we do? Well, once we have their final answer, let's get back together again. Do everything we discussed today and how it all works. I'll answer any additional questions that may have come up along the way. And at that time, then you can make your final decision whether or not to proceed. Not today. We just want to make a decision as to whether or not we want to know what the answer is. But at that time, you can make a decision whether or not to proceed. How does that sound? For most of your clients, that's going to take the pressure off of making a purchase decision today and help them realize they don't need to make a purchase decision. So that's what I mean by I'd like to think about it. Remember, they're just procrastinating. When they say I'd like to think about it, they did not say they don't want to move forward. They just aren't ready to move forward yet until you give them more. And it gives you an opportunity to continue that conversation. That leads us to our second to last conversation starter. We talked a little bit about pain and pleasure a few times along the way today. The fundamental psychology here is that all decisions that you and your clients make are rooted in a choice between pain and pleasure. I mean, you can think about some simple examples. For example, did you brush your teeth this morning? I imagine you did, although if you're working from home, you might not have felt as much pressure to do that today. But brushing your teeth, it's kind of a pain. Nobody really looks forward to brushing their teeth when they get out of bed in the morning, but you do it anyway. There's a pain and pleasure trade-off. What is it? Well, the pain is if you don't brush your teeth, your breath won't smell very good, your mouth won't feel very good, your teeth will start to decay, and in the long term, you can have a whole lot of problems. What's the pleasure? Hey, if you get out of bed and do brush your teeth, gosh, you'll have that bright, shiny smile. You'll feel good about how you look and feel, and you'll keep your teeth around for a lot longer than you would before. So you decide to brush your teeth because the pleasure of brushing your teeth outweighs the pain of what it takes to get the job done. Same thing with exercise. If you got up out of bed early this morning and exercised, Well, there's pain and pleasure in that decision too. Pain is it's hard to get out of bed early and go exercise. That's the pain. Pleasure is you're taking good care of yourself, and in the long run, you're going to feel a lot better, more energetic, and a lot stronger as a result. And the people who get out of bed and exercise do it because the benefits outweigh the pain of getting out of bed. Now, if you chose not to exercise, that was a pain and pleasure decision too. The pain of getting your butt out of bed was bigger than the pleasure of hitting the snooze bar on your alarm clock and sleeping a little longer. See my point? Whether you chose to exercise or didn't choose to exercise, whether you chose to brush your teeth or didn't choose to brush your teeth, it's a pain and pleasure decision. The foods you eat or choose not to eat, that's a pain and pleasure decision. The car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, the vacations you take. All of these things are rooted in decisions between pain and pleasure. The key here is helping your clients understand that the same is true of the decision to purchase life insurance. They won't simply buy because you educated them. They'll buy when you help them recognize a pain that they have, help them recognize a problem they need solved, and then help them see how you can make that problem go away with life insurance. So what's the pain of not owning life insurance? The pain is not a physical pain. It's an emotional pain. It's the emotional pain of leaving your loved ones financially strapped if something unexpected takes you away from them. Will your clients admit to you that that's a problem? If they won't admit to you that it bothers them to think of what would happen to their family financially if they died without life insurance, they're probably not going to buy. But if they do admit to you that that's a pain they want solved, then you're on the right track. Now we can transition into the pleasure of owning life insurance. What's the pleasure of owning life insurance? The pleasure is knowing that you can put your head on your pillow every single night, confident that you've taken care of one of your biggest financial concerns. You know that because of this life insurance, your family will be financially secure if you die unexpectedly. If this is the pain they want eliminated, and if this is the pleasure that they're trying to find so that they can sleep comfortably every night knowing that if what they didn't plan for happens, then they're going to buy life insurance to solve that problem. So don't just educate your clients, disturb them. Disturb them about the problems they're not facing. Motivate them to relieve the pain and replace that pain with pleasure. When you do all of that, your clients will move forward. Remember, purchasing life insurance is not an academic decision. It's not up to you to educate your client on everything they need to know about life insurance so that they'll say, gosh, that makes all the sense in the world. That's so logical. How can I not do that? That's not how life insurance gets bought. It's not an academic decision. It's an emotional decision. It's a decision of the heart. And that's where you need to take the conversation. Remember, people make the decision to buy life insurance with their heart. Then they rationalize the decision with the information in their head. So I'm not saying that the information that you share during your sales presentation is not necessary. It is. But it's not the decision-making information. First, they make the decision based on their emotional interests in solving these emotional problems of the heart. Then they rationalize their decision with the information in their head. It's up to you to balance both the information and the emotion to drive them to the right decision with emotion and then help them rationalize and justify what they've done with the information that you share. And that's pain and pleasure. Taking us to our last of our 7 conversation starters, what I fondly like to refer to as the butterfly chart. What's the butterfly chart? The butterfly chart is a way of explaining how your client faces risks that are handled by life insurance so that they can better understand when they should buy term insurance, when they should buy permanent life insurance, and when they should buy both. Here's how the story unfolds. You can draw this simple story out on a legal pad or even a cocktail napkin. What you do is begin with this simple chart and tell them that on the left, I have your pre-retirement risks, and on the right, I have the risks you face in retirement. Now, when I talk to clients in their 20s, 30s, 40s that have, a roof over their head and children under that roof, and I ask them, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if one of you two, the breadwinners of this family, died unexpectedly tomorrow, what would be the three most important things you would still want to have paid for after you're gone and your income has disappeared? When you ask that question to young couples with children under their roof, they'll always and consistently come back to you with the same three things. I want to make sure that I can help my kids go to college, to give them a good start on their life. I'd like to pay off the mortgage, the credit cards, car loans, and things like that. And I'd like to be able to replace the income so that my family can continue to live the life they've become accustomed to, even if I'm gone. Now, this diagram was drawn this way for a specific reason. Notice that all three of those lines are sloping downward to the right. Well, that's because as you get closer and closer to retirement, these three concerns are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. By the time you retire, your kids are probably already graduated from college. You don't need life insurance to help pay for college anymore if you died after retirement. Your kids are already out of college. If you did your mortgage correctly, it's paid down. It may even be paid off by the time you retire. And income replacement, well, that's the definition of retirement. You're done working when you're retired, which means you have no work income left to replace. So the theory is by the time you're retired, all three of those concerns would be gone. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, I only need life insurance until I'm 60 or 70 years old, right? Well, that would not be true, because there are three other big risks that are getting larger and larger over time during your retirement years. What are those? First is a family of financial risks, and there's a laundry list of these. I'll give you just a few. Look at what we're going through now. If you talk to a retiree about their portfolio, they are crying. Regardless of whether they've gotten anything to do with the coronavirus, regardless of whether they've gotten sick from this, they're getting crushed in their portfolios because of these stock market corrections. It's a huge financial risk for retirees. Their home ownership expenses like furnaces, air conditioners, water heaters, roofs, flooring, all of this stuff is horribly expensive. And it's likely that they're going to incur those expenses during their retirement. Another financial risk is these low interest rates. My goodness, they've got 40% of their portfolio, maybe more, in bonds. And the yield on those bonds is so low, they can't live on the interest anymore. How about tax rates? Which way do you think tax rates are going to go? Well, gosh, now that the economy is in such trouble, the government is bailing everybody out. Trillions and trillions of dollars coming from the government that they did not expect to spend. And we already have over $2 trillion of national debt. Holy mackerel. How are we going to take care of this problem? Many people believe tax rates are going up in the future. Lots of people saved less than they should have for retirement. Lots of people spend too much in their first few years of retirement. And that's just the financial risks. On top of that, you have healthcare costs. And that one's also sloping upward to the right because the older you get, the more healthcare costs you encounter. And thirdly is Social Security income. And when one spouse of a couple dies, your Social Security income from the government goes down by at least 1/3 and as much as 1/2. So you'll notice all three of these risks on the right are sloping upward because they all get bigger and bigger over time, and they never, ever go away. They just keep getting bigger. Now, you can see by the shape of this, it looks like the wings of a butterfly, and that's why I've given it this name, the butterfly chart. But when you're looking at this, consider for a minute your 30 or 40-something couple with kids under their roof on the left side of the chart. Do they think they're going to be dead before they retire? No. And they probably won't be. They're probably right. So when they buy life insurance for the risks on the left side of the screen, they're buying life insurance for if they die. Likely that it won't happen, but if it does, it's financially devastating. And they want to make sure these three things, along with maybe a list of other things, all get taken care of. But these risks on the right, they'll be there forever. They'll always be there. And they continue to get worse as life goes on. So when you're buying life insurance for the risks on the right, you're buying life insurance for when you die. That's permanent life insurance. If you die life insurance, that's term. When you die life insurance, that's permanent life insurance. And you can use this to help your clients construct a portfolio of life insurance. Let's just say you did a needs analysis that showed that your client, 44-year-old husband and wife, that in order to accomplish their goals, they need $1 million worth of death benefit. Well, what do you sell them? $1 million worth of term? Well, that won't help them in their retirement. Okay, I'll sell them $1 million worth of permanent life insurance. Well, that's going to be awfully expensive. and they may not be able to afford it. You might talk yourself right out of the sale. So what might you want to consider doing? Ask another question. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you were retired and one of you got sick and passed away before the other, how much money would you like to see in your portfolio for the surviving spouse to be sure that they could live the rest of their life financially independently? They'll give you a number. Usually the number I get back from that question is somewhere from $150,000 to $500,000. Well, let's take an example. So you did $1 million needs analysis. Client needs $1 million with life insurance. Client said, if we had $300,000 in the portfolio when the first spouse dies, the second spouse should be just fine. Well, let's get a $300,000 permanent life insurance policy so that if you do die prematurely, your surviving spouse has at least guaranteed $300,000 in the portfolio so that we know they'll be financially secure. Okay, that solves part of our problem, but I need $1 million worth of life insurance. What am I going to do to make up the other $700,000? We'll buy term, because that term insurance is going to cover the pre-retirement years. And at the end of your pre-retirement years, that $700,000 of life insurance and the premium that goes with it will all stop. And you will continue to have this $300,000 permanent life insurance policy for the rest of your life to make sure that your surviving spouse will always have a lifetime of financial security when the first spouse dies. Now, I can tell you this story is so powerful. 2 weeks ago, we took an application for $3 million of permanent life insurance and $7 million of term life insurance on someone in the state of Florida in their late 30s that was in the exact situation I'm talking about. Now, of course, they were an affluent couple. They had a lot of money, but they used this exact same story that I've been using with clients who are buying $200,000 worth of term and $300,000 worth of permanent life insurance, or something like on the screen, 300 of permanent and 700 of term. But we just closed the case for a high net worth, high income earning client who bought $3 million of permanent and $700,000 or $7 million worth of term insurance because they saw this simple presentation. So I share with you that story to tell you this story is impactful for all of your clients, regardless of their income levels and where they are in their life. This is a great story to help them understand how to assemble a portfolio of life insurance that will help them achieve their short-term and their long-term financial goals. So there you have it, a series of 7 different conversation starters that you can use to engage your audience, to help understand that it's not about the products we sell, it's about the stories we tell. We tell stories that highlight the problems that your clients are facing today, and then we solve those problems by fulfilling their portfolio with a life insurance product that fits with their other financial objectives. If you can become a master of these 7 conversation starters, you will find that your dialogue with your clients takes a whole new direction. And when you start to engage your clients in these personal, heartfelt, emotional conversations driven by these 7 conversation starters, you'll start seeing your clients admit they need this stuff. They'll admit that they want this stuff. And they'll begin to realize that the things that they're giving up each month in order to have the money to pay for the premiums, I mean, think about that for a minute. Let's just say the premiums for this package is going to be $100 a month. Ask your client, what are you concerned about giving up for $100 a month? Is it going to the movies? Is it going out to the restaurant with your family? And at the end of the day, is it really that important to have those things and leave your family financially strapped when you could forego some of those things and provide your family a lifetime of financial security? That's what these stories can do for you. Remember, they make the decision with their heart, rationalize the decision with their head. That's our conversation starters for today. I'd like to give the podium back to Bill. We'll put a ribbon in a bow, but I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Eric Tompkins, the entire AIG team, and everybody at Levinson Associates for doing this little makeup session from the Levinson conference by giving you the opportunity to continue to put arrows in your quiver that are going to help deliver your message to your clients so that one client at a time, you get to help people achieve their lifetime of financial security. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Bill.
That was incredible, Joe. Once again, as always, you never let us down. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart, especially during a time like this from your home. So I appreciate it. My hat goes off to you. And as important is a special thank you to all of our agents that are taking the time to spend an hour with us in the middle of the afternoon. I know you're busy, you have a million things going on, but you're willing to learn and try to make the best out of a very challenging situation. So thank you to you all once again. I want to dive into just a couple more slides, and then we're gonna wrap up. But again, that was great. I took some notes down myself. I love to hear this stuff, and Joe always brings it to the next level. And we have more to come, by the way. You're going to see future trainings with us and Joe Ross, and we're just getting started here. And even though we're all dealing with this crisis, I guarantee you we're still going to make 2020 the best year to date. Okay, we're going to come out of this stronger than ever before. All right, so with that said, we put together a great training resource for you all on our website. It's our iGenius training platform. And basically, this was built to help all of our agents. I don't care what age you are, how long you've been doing this, it doesn't matter. If you're selling over the phone or online, which I know most of you are right now because you don't have much of a choice, we have put together this library of sales scripts, different lead options, selling online and virtually tools that were built for you. Anyone selling over the phone, we have some great resources here. Social media marketing, CRM, email blasts. We have a marketing library that we put together where you can co-brand all of these pieces with your logo and information. So you can start dripping out to your clients and prospects today. We even have that agency automator database that has millions and millions of prospects that you can tap into by just clicking what zip code you want to work in, what age bracket. You can say, I want families with newborn children, and the system will spit out names, numbers, emails, addresses, so you can start marketing today, literally this afternoon. That's Agency Automator. Okay, moving forward here, the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. This is a great time for you to put in your earbuds and listen to some of these great episodes. They're built for you. Every month we have a new episode, new guest speaker. In fact, Joe Ross, like I said earlier, he was on for an hour. Bottom right corner, Emmanuel. He sells 99.9% over the phone and virtually even before this whole epidemic. So great training there. In the middle is Ian from California. Another guy sells 90% over the phone. On the left side is Wally. He's in his mid-70s, okay? He's my father's age, basically. And this guy is diving into driving traffic to his website, social media marketing, using all of our tools and resources. You ask him about retirement, he says, what are you, crazy? He's more successful now than he's ever been. So he's got some great stories as well about living benefits, disability sales, long-term care. Great resource, great for you to bring your training to the next level. And above that, I'm just going to name a few here. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. Next week, Tony Robbins, his right-hand assistant, Mike Savage, is our guest speaker. So we're going to launch that next week. I'm recording it, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll get it out by Thursday or Friday. But, man, you talk about great stories and stories that sell. Wait till you hear this guy. He's been with Tony on the road for the last 15 years. So he's going to be another great asset to the Bill Levinson Experience. Also, Forbes 400, Jeff Levitetz. We have Jorge Solar, the American League home run record holder, plays for the Kansas City Royals. He's got a great story. 28 years old, worth almost $100 million. And you talk about putting things into perspective. I mean, wait till you hear his story growing up in Cuba with no bread or meat or water. I mean, he's got some real cool stuff. And I'm telling you right now, talk about inspiration. You have to check that one out. Paul Feldman, owner of Insurance Newsnet Magazine. Bill Atlee, owner, founder of iPipeline, who created all of these e-apps and drop tickets. Of course, the Joe Ross, Larry Zinn, Lauren Berkeley, the top estate planning attorney, one of the top in the country, bar none. You have to listen to some of his stories, some great tools for estate planning. Anyway, check it out when you can. Leave a review. I'll send you the new IUL prospecting book on me. You can just leave and just say a few words on the Apple iTunes podcast channel or on our Facebook page or any of your favorite podcast channels. We are on we have 5 different channels now that we are broadcasting the Bill Levinson experience. I hope you check it out. Obviously it's free, but I'd love to hear from you about that. Okay, Andrew's going to touch on some upcoming training events, and then we're going to wrap up with our 2 questions of the day. And I promise you there better not be a glitch with today's incentive giveaways. Andrew, you got it?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. I want to quickly go over our training schedule for the week. As Joe Ross and Bill just said on the call, it is imperative to market and follow up with your clients. They are sitting at home, scrolling Facebook, checking their phones and tablets because they have nothing better to do except watch the news. Well, what better way to actually market to life insurance and disability and all these different products to them than by getting on our agency automator platform and drip marketing to them while they're looking for it. So check out Monday through Friday. We have a training every single day on a different topic. As well, on Wednesday, we go over our legacy armor training. So this is our digital security vault where you can target high net worth clients, talk about that retirement dilemma, get involved with that. Also on 4/7 next week, we have an Insure Me Now Direct Update webinar where we're going to go over all of our new products and services, including our new $500,000 instant issue direct-to-consumer term. So do not miss that. And also, lastly, on 4/8 next week, we're going to have a top annuity sales marketing training with one of our top third-party annuity gurus who's going to come in and give you everything you need to know about opening doors and sell more annuities. I'm going to get it back to Bill to get those prizes out. Bill, you there?
Yes, good stuff, Andrew. By the way, I also want to take my hat off to our team here, all of the Levinson and Associates employees working here in the office, working remote from home. I want to take my hat off to Joseph Loughran, did a great job putting all of this together. Andrew Paris, of course, who's joining us. Joe Ross, awesome stuff. Eric Tompkins, a great addition to the AIG family. So thank you guys for making this one of the best webinars of the year and the second to the best attendance on any webinar of the year. So we had 2 back-to-back webinars hitting just about 1,000 agents across the country. So 1,000 out of 18,000, not too shabby, especially during this whole COVID-19 issue that we're all dealing with. Okay, that's our Positive Tuesday quote. And yes, that's Gene Simmons from KISS. And you talk about like motivation and inspiration. This guy's passion around music and the empire that he built of branding and marketing is unfreaking believable. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But first up, I have the 2 questions of the day. So make sure your little fingers are on your keyboard right now. Okay, get ready. The question box should be on the right-hand side. Make sure you're comfortable. You have your notes in front of you. We have 2 questions. Whoever answers first incorrectly wins the new Amazon Fire tablet. Number 1. We spoke about the brand new product that's on Insure Me Now Direct, which is like the Amazon for insurance. The only difference is you get paid full commission. It's your own platform with your picture, and it's free. Okay, we had 3 new carriers added to the platform. Okay. One of them was a guaranteed issue disability product. That's straight up guaranteed issue DI. Everybody gets approved. What was the carrier that has this product on the platform as of yesterday? Whoever names the carrier that has the guaranteed issue disability product, please type it in. Whoever says the correct answer first wins. Joe, do we have a winner?
We do. The first winner is Try M from Colorado.
Try M from Colorado. That's spelled T-R-I?
Correct.
T-R-I from Colorado. Congratulations. The answer is actually SureBridge. Okay, they have 7 products on the platform as of today. The latest product we just added was straight up guaranteed issue disability income. Everybody gets approved. Okay, that is on the platform, and I hope you're marketing and selling that as of today. The second question, make sure you are ready to go. I'm going to give everyone a little drum roll. Okay. The question is, get ready. The new $500,000 term that we just launched yesterday. Okay. We just launched it yesterday. Instant decision, client-driven, 5-minute e-application, instant decision, electronic policy delivery, okay? This is Amazon for life insurance up to $500,000. As the client is typing in the e-application, the systems are running in the background. By the time they're done, it's going to say approved or declined, and standard or better gets approved, okay? So most of your clients should have no problem. The question is, what is that new carrier? What is their AM Best rating for that new carrier? I said it twice in the early part of the presentation. What is their rating with AM Best? Whoever answers first incorrectly wins. Joe, do we have a winner?
We do.
Anyone?
The winner, yep, we do. The winner is Mark L., and I'll give you a state in 1 second here.
Mark L., congratulations. And the state?
Florida.
Florida. Mark L. from Florida. The answer is, the carrier is Haven. The rating is A+, which is second best household name. And I also want to say we're the only ones that have access to these products. So run with this now. I'm going to end with our Positive Tuesday quote. Don't be the kind of person that takes what you can get. Be the kind of person that creates exactly what you want. That's straight from Gene Simmons' mouth. Get scrappy. Now is the time. Start selling with these great stories that Joe Ross went over. We will talk to you next Tuesday. We're doing 2 webinars a week until we are past this COVID-19 issue. We're all going to get through this stronger on the other end. Have a great rest of the week, a good weekend, great selling, and thank you again.